Hi there, welcome to Garden Friends. I'm Andrea and I'm here in Tampa, Florida, and I'm here in my fall garden, and I thought I would shoot a video to show you what I've got growing. I'm really excited about my tomatillos. I've never grown them before. They've got flowers everywhere. They're very, very prolific bloomers. And here I've got some green tomatillos. In fact, I've got a larger one right over there. They're just growing in a raised bed. I'm sure that I probably planted too many, but so far so good. Next time I will put 2 in my pot instead of 4, 5, because I had an accidental seedling that popped up. But they like full sun. For the first couple of months that they were growing, they did have a shade cover over them because it was still pretty hot. Right now it's like I said, it's the 22nd of October, and we took the shade cloth down last weekend. And things seem to be very happy. And oh, here's a little wasp hanging out on the tomatillo. So this is one of the plants that we have right now that's very happy in our fall Florida garden. Another vegetable that we've got growing that's pretty happy right now is my yellow squash. I tried to grow it a little earlier. I started my first seedlings about 2 months ago, and I got plants, I got lots of blossoms, and I got a whole bunch of aphids and a lot of caterpillars. And every day I was out here watering aphids off of my blossoms and my leaves and hand picking caterpillars off. And they got inside of the blossoms. I managed to get 2 viable squash before I gave up and pulled them all out of the ground. So here's my Swiss chard, and I don't have a whole lot of it, but I planted these seeds back in January, and it's now almost the end of October, and they've never lasted this long for me. Every time I think that they're about to give up the ghost, I'll come back and I will cut them off at the base, and a couple days later I have got new shoots. So I keep coming out here and cutting the big ones, and I freeze them. We make a pizza. My husband makes a delicious pizza, GD pizza. It's a nice Italian pizza that we make, and I freeze them. Sometimes I'll use them if I run out of something like collard greens or kale and I don't have any. I'll pull some out of the freezer and I will use them in place of whatever I'm lacking. It's a green. I pretty much use my greens interchangeably, but you can grow it year-round here in Florida, and it's awesome. Here is my pot of kale. I got my seeds from a Florida manufacturer, and they promised that this would survive our Florida weather, and they're doing well so far. It's Ethiopian kale, and we've been cutting leaves and using it in salads. It tastes good. I haven't had any kind of bug problem. We water it every day, and they're here in this beautiful copper pot that I got gifted to me from a friend of mine. I have just a few more edibles that are here in my garden. I've got my green onions, and these I planted several months ago from the seeds from my kitchen scrap garden. I had green onions that made seeds. I threw them in here. I know that I should have thinned them out, but I didn't. And we have been using them. My husband uses these almost every day. He puts them in salad. He even puts them into his omelets. And so we do thin them out occasionally. They do have some little bit of green onion. The benefit of these being so thin is that we use almost the entire thing. We've got just about 0 waste. And so they have been a happy little accident. I know I did it incorrectly, but so far so good. Just a couple more from my October edible garden. This is my brown turkey fig plant, and I'm still able to get a couple figs a day. He is not ready yet. He is, I would say about 4 years old. I got him from just a little bitty plant, and his leaves are starting to curl. I get this fig rust, and it doesn't seem to affect the fruit any, but in the summer, you don't want to see too much of it, because as the leaves fall off, the fruits are not protected from the sun. And right now it is the end of October, so the leaves that I'm losing aren't really hurting my fruit production any. And once it finishes fruiting, I'll give it a little bit of a trim, not too much, just really those weird branches that are growing out into things. And oh, well, there's part of our Plumeria. We have a Plumeria situation. I planted a whole bunch of seeds and they lived. So now I've got about 28 in pots, and a few of them are from seeds I bought. I bought 5 seeds, and they're supposed to be from a peach colored Plumeria, only I don't know which ones they are, so we're just waiting for them to all bloom so that I can hopefully get a peach variety. So I have also got my papaya tree. I've got 3 trees. Some are just starting to bloom. They're much younger. And this guy is absolutely full of papayas. And I'm happy because I had a month there where squirrels kept pulling down the blossoms and the tiny little fruit. I was finding little bite marks on it and finding them on the ground, and that's no good for me. But these are happy. They're growing up there. They have survived storms. We had those really bad tropical storms that came through a couple of months ago. Didn't lose a branch and didn't lose a papaya. So it'll take a while. We won't try to pick any of those until they start to turn orange. Now, while my green beans aren't real impressive, I felt bad leaving them out. Maybe I've got a bean right there and a little blossom. He'll make a bean soon. And I've got some small ones there, and they'll be ready in a few days. Now, the seeds I originally got back in January. I planted them, and I had 18 wonderful plants. We were picking beans twice a day. I let a few beans go to seed. I planted another crop. It was not nearly as productive, but it was much later into the summer, much hotter. I thought maybe these would be okay in the fall. Again, last crop of beans, I saved some seeds, and they are not happy. They've got something going on with the leaves. I don't know if it almost looks like some kind of spider mite, only I can't see any evidence of the spider mite except the leaves don't look right. And they're not very prolific, so I am going to just buy some more seeds. I get them from a Florida seed company. It's a good one to grow in Florida. It likes our weather. They're not very happy, and I've planted them in different soil each time. I have not reused my soil. So I don't know what's going on with him, but it is October. They are actually growing. We are picking them and we are eating them, even though it's just 1 or 2 once in a while. So you can grow beans in October in Florida. Another thing that I have got growing in abundance in my October garden are sweet potato vines. I've got them in about 4 different places. This is my biggest crop right here. He's in an old bathtub that I got from my parents. And I'm gonna give them as long as possible. I think once the greens start to die off, we will try to harvest and see what we've got under there. It's just hard to tell without uprooting some. And I want to let them grow as much as possible because I want the biggest sweet potatoes that I can get. And I kept chopping away at my leaves. You can see this one's starting to get away from me here. I grew them once and let the vines, because as you can see, he's making roots already and he's not even touching anything. I let the vines touch the ground, and I thought that somehow that might nurture the plant a little bit, let it get more nutrients out of the soil. And all I did when I pulled it up, all I did was make a whole bunch of little bitty sweet potatoes that look like French fries, because those roots want to touch down and make your sweet potatoes. And I would be remiss if I did not note that in October, it's a great time to grow herbs. These are not new herbs. These are the same ones I've been growing since my January crop. I just keep cutting them back and they just won't die. We've made a lot of pesto, still have some in the freezer. But I think they are on their way out. If I look down here, these leaves are kind of wrinkly and curly, which tell me they've got something funky going on. So I'm not sure what it is. I don't see anything, but I know that that is not good. Got another little guy over here. I cut him down just so it would be easier for me to pull him out, and then he made new leaves, so I left him. But his leaves are obviously curling and they're unhappy. So I'm gonna pull these out probably. That's probably gonna be my next weekend activity. But never fear, I do have some more basil growing. And what I've discovered is really easy with this purple basil is I cut it about right here where I've got a new node. I stick them in the ground and they make roots. I put them in other pots with other herbs and they grow. So I'm really happy about that. It's not something that I've tried. I've always seen online and people have told me, oh yeah, you just cut it and you can do it. I've never tried it with basil because it does grow so easily and you get so many seeds. I just usually keep some crops going. And the last edible in my October Florida garden is my Florida cranberries, or cranbabies as I like to call them. And they just started blooming, I would say towards the end of September, once the days started to get a little cooler and not quite as long. And I've got, well, too many. Because again, first year I planted them and I planted too many, planted them too close together, and they've kind of taken over. You can see the trellis there where I have some sad little Seminole pumpkin vines. Maybe they will perk up once I get these cranberries cut away. And we've already started harvesting the cranberries. We're putting them directly into salads, and I'll pull out a bushel full of them. I'll cut them off and peel them off of the seed pod, and I'm freezing them because in November I am going to make Florida cranberry sauce, and I'm really excited about that. It was the whole reason that I planted them. So I want to thank you for joining me on my tour of my late October edibles here in Tampa, Florida. I'm growing a few other things that'll be ready to harvest next month. I've got some turnips, I've got beets, I've got kohlrabi. They're all in the ground. I've planted a new round of kale. So we will be harvesting straight through fall into winter. And I would love to hear what you're planting in your garden this time of year. If you've got any comments, or if you like my video, subscribe, hit that little like button. It's always nice to hear from new friends, and get out in your garden and grow.